Everybody agrees on this one. The 308 has earned its legend. 70 years of taking down elk, moose, and everything in between with reliability nobody questions anymore. The classics deserve every bit of that reputation, but the conversation stops right there for most hunters, while the actual engineering kept moving. Carbon fiber barrels that shed heat like nothing else, stocks under 1 pound, bolt throws shorter than your trigger finger can blink. The men chasing elk at first light this season are not carrying what their fathers carried. Today we are ranking the 5 rifles proving that point, and the gap between number 5 and number 1 might surprise you. Sliding into the countdown at number 5, we have got the Christensen Arms Ridgeline 5th. This is the rifle that proves you do not need a 5-figure price tag to play in the carbon fiber game. Built on the Model 14 action, Christensen basically perfected the Remington 700 blueprint, then tightened every tolerance until the bolt cycles like it is running on rails. Street price is right around $2,000, climbing close to $2,350 depending on the build, and for what you are getting, that number should make the other 4 rifles on this list nervous. Pick this thing up, and the first thing you notice is what is missing. Weight. The stock alone tips the scale at barely over 1 pound. Thanks to a compression molding process Christensen calls flash forge technology. Instead of hand-laying carbon sheets like the old pre-preg method, they pack multi-directional carbon fiber bundles into a mold and slam it under massive pressure. The result feels less like a rifle stock and more like a carbon fiber shell with a trigger guard attached. Underneath that featherweight shell sits a barrel that earns its reputation the hard way. A button-rifled 416R stainless steel core gets wrapped under tension in dozens of layers of carbon fiber. Here is why that matters. The fibers run lengthwise down the barrel, which means they pull heat away from the chamber instead of trapping it. Run a few rounds through this rifle back to back and the barrel stays cooler than a straight steel tube would, which keeps your groups from walking as the session goes on. Honestly, there is not much to complain about here. The trigger tech breaks like a glass rod snapping in half, clean and sudden, with the extended ejection port and the enhanced extractor borrowed from the M16 platform keeping the feed reliable, and Christensen backs it with a sub 1 minute of angle guarantee across factory loads. If I am being picky, the limited dealer network means you might wait a little longer for warranty work than you would with a Remington or a Savage, but that is a minor annoyance, not a mission killer. For hunters looking for the lightest carbon package at the most accessible price point, this is where the carbon fiber conversation should start. Stepping up the game at number 4, we land on the Sako 980, available in either the walnut-stocked Hunter or the carbon-reinforced Adventure. This is Finland's answer to 7 decades of push-feed refinement, built as the direct descendant of the Sako 75 and Sako 85 before it. Feeds on 308 Winchester like it was born for nothing else. Running through a 3-lug action with a 60-degree bolt throw sets you back somewhere between $2,400 and $3,000, depending on which stock you pick. Run the bolt on this rifle, and you will understand why Sako has the reputation it does. Sako broaches the receiver instead of just boring it, cutting away every stray contact point between the bolt body and the rail channels until there is nothing left to catch. The bolt glides like it is moving through oil instead of steel. No grit, no hesitation, just one smooth pull and push. Recoil off the bench feels like a firm shove rather than a sharp jab, the heavier 7-pound build doing its job of soaking up the 308's punch before it ever reaches your shoulder. Here is the piece most hunters never think about: lock time. Sako's fire control group gets you down under 1.3 milliseconds between the sear releasing and the firing pin striking the primer. That sounds irrelevant until you remember a heartbeat alone can move the muzzle off target in a fraction of that window. Shave the lock time down that far, and you remove your own pulse from the equation, which is exactly why Sako rifles group tighter than the math on paper would suggest. Honestly, I do not have a real complaint here. The trigger adjusts across 5 presets from right around 2 pounds up to 4 pounds without ever pulling the stock off the action. The dual plunger ejectors borrowed from Sako's military sniper rifle program will throw brass clear every time, and the integrated optics rail milled straight into the receiver means there is no aftermarket base to ever shift loose. If you came here wanting a rifle that swaps barrels and calibers on the fly like our #1 pick, this is not that gun. The Sako 980 is built for hunters who want one exceptional rifle in one caliber, finished to a standard most factories cannot touch. Before we climb any higher, I already know some of you are loading up the comments section with your own #1 pick. Good, drop it below, let's see if it can hang with what is coming. Entering the elite tier at #3 is the Weatherby Mark V Backcountry 2.0, available in a steel-barreled build at 5.2 pounds, or the titanium guide tie pushing 5.58 pounds. Weatherby built its reputation on an action strong enough to handle its own Magnum cartridges, so when they chamber this same Mark V platform in .308 Winchester, they simply drop down to a 6-lug bolt instead of the 9-lug version reserved for the big Magnums. Slings .308 downrange through the shortest bolt throw in the entire rifle industry, just 54 degrees of lift. The damage to your wallet is anywhere from $2,499 to $3,799 depending on the build. Run the bolt and that 54-degree throw becomes obvious fast. Your hand barely leaves the stock before the next round is chambered, and there is no risk of your knuckles clipping the scope's ocular bell on the way through. The bolt body itself is spiral fluted, cut with channels that let grit, sand, and old ice fall away instead of jamming the action. The TriggerTech trigger breaks like flipping a light switch, no warning, no travel, just on and off. Here is where Weatherby earns its keep on the technical side. The Peak 44 Blacktooth stock is a solid carbon fiber layup, weighing under 20 ounces, which on its own would turn a .308 into a rifle that slaps you every time you pull the trigger. Weatherby's answer is the 3D Hex recoil pad, a 3D printed lattice of hollow hexagonal cells instead of solid rubber. When the rifle fires, those cells collapse in stages rather than all at once, stretching out the time it takes for the recoil energy to transfer into your shoulder. Pair that with the AccuBrake ST venting gas through 30 radial ports at the muzzle, and what should feel like a heavyweight punch instead lands like a dog leaning its full body weight against your leg, firm, persistent, but never sharp enough to make you flinch on the next shot. That muzzle brake is also where my one real gripe lives. The AccuBrake ST is loud enough that you will want hearing protection even out hunting, and it is not exactly polite to whoever is standing next to you in the field. But that is a trade-off for recoil management, not a reliability issue, and you can always swap it for a thread protector if the blast bothers you. Across factory .308 loads, Weatherby backs this rifle with the same sub-1 minute of angle guarantee as everything else on this list. And the Cerakote finish will shrug off bad weather better than that beautiful Sako walnut ever could. You are looking at roughly $2,995 to $3,495 for the Wilson Combat NULA Model 20. And the story behind that price tag goes back further than almost anything else on this list. Melvin Forbes built the first new ultra-light arms rifle back in 1985 because he was convinced hunters were carrying 10 pounds of rifle just to save 5 pounds of effort climbing the mountain, and the math never sat right with him. 4 decades later, Wilson Combat picked up his blueprint almost unchanged and just gave it better tooling, proof the original idea never needed fixing. Runs on 308 Winchester through a tiny 2-lug action machined from a 4140 steel billet, barely 1.22 inches across, with a base weight of just 5.17 pounds. Cycle the bolt, and you can feel exactly how much metal Forbes managed to remove without losing strength. The bolt body itself measures a hair over ½ an inch in diameter, and yet it still carries a full Sako-style extractor and a plunger ejector that throws brass with authority. The Timney Elite Hunter trigger breaks like an icicle snapping off a branch crisp, cold, and over before you expect it, adjustable anywhere from 2.75 up to 3.25 pounds. Here is the engineering trick that makes this rifle disappear into your shoulder instead of fighting you. The stock geometry uses what is called a negative drop comb. The heel of the stock actually sits about a ½ inch lower than the bore line, instead of higher like most traditional designs. That single change redirects the recoil energy straight back into your shoulder pocket along a flat path, instead of letting it twist the muzzle upward into your cheek. The result is a rifle that, despite weighing barely over 5 pounds, still prints groups under 0.57 inches at 100 yards, numbers that would be respectable on a rifle twice its weight. If I am being honest, the one thing that will trip up some hunters is the lack of a detachable box magazine. This rifle feeds through a hinged floor plate instead, which means topping off in the field means thumbing rounds into the action one at a time instead of slapping in a fresh mag. That costs you a ½ second you might not have if a second chance at the animal opens up fast. Outside of that, there is nothing soft about this build. It is a mountain rifle built by a man who spent his whole career obsessed with exactly one problem, and solved it better than almost anyone else ever has. This one earns its spot fair and square. But wait until you see what is sitting at number 1. It does everything this rifle does, and then adds a trick none of the other 4 can touch. This is it. The spot every other rifle on this list was quietly competing for. Street price is anywhere from $5,000 on the base Ultimate model, climbing past $11,700 for the Carbon and Ultimate X builds, and by the time you finish reading this list you will understand exactly why hunters who can afford it never look back. Blaser builds this rifle in Germany on a philosophy that throws out everything Mauser taught the world about turnbolt rifles, eats 308 Winchester for breakfast, then swallows 338 Lapua Magnum just as easily on the exact same chassis, with 223 Remington sitting comfortably at the small end of the same modular system. The action itself does not lift, does not rotate, does not do anything you would recognize from a traditional bolt gun. Instead of lugs locking into the receiver, the bolt carrier rides forward on a straight line, and a radial collet 14 individual locking segments flares outward into a full 360-degree groove cut directly into the chamber. That distributes the pressure of every single shot evenly around the entire circumference instead of concentrating it on 2 or 3 lugs, which means the action can handle calibers from .223 all the way up to .338 Lapua without ever needing to grow in size. Here is the piece of engineering that actually wins this rifle the top spot. Blaser does not mount the scope to the receiver like every other rifle on this list. The optic clamps onto a saddle that sits directly on machined grooves cut into the barrel itself. That means the scope and the barrel move as one single unit, locked to the same axis. Pull the barrel off to switch calibers, and the scope comes with it drop in a different barrel, and you are back on target without touching a single turret. Number 3's 54-degree bolt throw is the fastest lift in the business, and number 2's negative drop stock is a masterclass in recoil control, but neither one solves the problem Blaser just eliminated entirely. The Desmodromic trigger breaks like flicking a playing card off a table, effortless, instant. Gone before you register the motion, sitting around 15.5 ounces of pull with 0 creep and 0 over travel. The only honest gripe here is the price. At $11,700 for the top builds, this is not a rifle for the average hunter, and pretending otherwise would be dishonest. But number 4 gives you blazing lock time in 1 caliber. Number 5 gives you weight savings in 1 caliber. And number 1 gives you every caliber on 1 rifle, with a trigger smoother than anything else on this list. By the time you have climbed this far down the countdown, number 1 was never really a surprise. It was inevitable. So there it is, 5 rifles, 5 completely different philosophies, and 1 undeniable truth. Number 5 proved carbon fiber does not have to break the bank. Number 4 proved finish engineering still sets the bar for smoothness and consistency. Number 3 proved Weatherby can tame recoil without sacrificing speed. Number 2 proved that less rifle can still mean more capability if you know what you are doing with it. And number 1 proved that when money is not the limiting factor, modularity and engineering go hand in hand. Whichever one fits your hunt, your budget, and your back on a long climb, every rifle on this list earns its place in a serious hunter's safe. Train hard, stay safe, and I will see you downrange.